How's it going, you guys? So in this video I want to talk a little bit about why I'm not vegan and why I'm pretty confident that I'm never ever going to become vegan again. So first of all, most of you who've been following me for a while know that I was vegan for 1 year back in 2014 to 2015, and I pursued veganism originally because number one, I was suffering from a wide variety of health problems that modern medicine, mainstream medicine didn't have the answer for. So I had psoriasis, I had irritable bowel syndrome, I had this what they call overbreathing syndrome or hyperventilation syndrome, where no matter how much you breathe in, like you don't feel like you can get enough breath. Like air hunger is what they call it. And I had anxiety issues, I had insomnia, and I just overall felt like garbage. I was always fatigued. So I felt like garbage at the time. And this was 2012, 2013, and then 2014 was when I was feeling my worst. 2013 was like probably the worst year for my health. And so yeah, had psoriasis, irritable bowel syndrome, all those health problems, and I was looking for how can I heal this? So I tried all these different vitamins and minerals and supplements and herbs and everything you can imagine, skin creams and different shampoos and conditioners and soaps, and eventually I decided, eventually I found veganism, and I started off with raw veganism. Basically, I found all these people that looked like they were glowing with health, and they were talking about healing brain cancer and all these different things, eating nothing but bananas or whatever. And so I was thinking, well, shit, if you can heal if you can heal cancer eating nothing but like bananas and grapes and whatnot, then you should be able to heal anything with grapes and bananas. Because at that time, I thought that cancer was like the worst possible health outcome that you can get, and anything that can heal cancer can heal every single other thing. That's what I was thinking at the time. It was a weird way of thinking, but all these different vegans were talking about how veganism was like the nirvana of health. Veganism was like this thing where you just keep getting healthier and healthier as the years go by, and you allow your body to detox and rejuvenate and all this nonsense. And basically, if you want better brain health, veganism. You want a better sex life, veganism. You want the cleanest body possible, veganism. Better for the planet, veganism. Like, veganism was like the answer for fucking all the world's problems at the time. That's what it looked like. So I can totally understand why people are so easily bamboozled by veganism, because it's a really huge trend, really big hype train. Make no mistake, veganism is a trend. Pretty much 99.9% of humanity, before 100 years ago, veganism was not a thing to them. Vegetarianism on and off, mostly for spiritual purposes, but never for health. The main reason why they're able to push the health benefits of veganism so deeply now is because in the last 100 years we developed nutritional science. And nutritional science allows some seemingly neutral things to appear very, very good on paper. Like, for example, broccoli can look like the most amazing health food ever because nutritional science isolated certain vitamins and minerals, and lab analysis finds that broccoli has high amounts of certain compounds that in a petri dish, in a test tube, we can correlate with these crazy health outcomes. We can cause cancer cells to explode by exposing them to compounds found in broccoli when we're in a lab. But then obviously in the real world, that doesn't always happen. But you can use large populations of people who eat like pounds of broccoli a day and correlate their good health with the compounds found in broccoli. Little do we know that it's actually probably just the fact that people who eat a shit ton of broccoli a day probably don't spend, if they're spending $5 a day on raw greens, they're probably not going to want to spend any money at all on junk food. Those are the types of people that really strive to avoid junk. Well, anyway, at the time I thought that it was the broccoli that was causing all these people to be healthy. I thought that there were these magical compounds just make you super strong and all this stuff. And at the same time, I was also into Chinese medicine and herbalism and stuff like that. And I knew that there were herbs and things that can have powerful health benefits. And these days now, I recognize that as well. And I use plenty of Chinese tonic herbs because they do have a powerful effect on the body. And it is because of some of the compounds in the plants. By the time I thought that every fucking plant food on the planet had to be magical, powerful, just like those Chinese tonics, I was like, dude, what better way to boost my health than to make my entire diet a potent, magical, polyphenol-enriched diet? Like, everything I eat needs to be packed with polyphenols. That's what I was thinking. I was like, the more green tea I drink, the better health I'm going to be. And I used to purposely, this is the worst thing you can ever do, I would purposely brew my green tea for like a fucking hour at a time in hot water. Believe me, that was the most bitter, disgusting shit I've ever had on the planet. And I wondered why I felt like garbage when I drank tea all the time. I was like, oh, I must have an allergy to tea or something. But no, it's because you're not supposed to freaking brew tea that long. But the whole point was I was going to try to extract as much of the antioxidants that generally don't actually exist. They don't actually cause antioxidant effects in the body. I was going to try to extract as much of the nutrients and antioxidants and polyphenols as possible. I was like, the most healthiest thing. I was like, polyphenols are magical and good. Chinese people and Asians, they drink all this green tea and whatnot. Japanese, and that's why they're healthy, supposedly. So, fuck it. I'm just going to take as much polyphenols and stuff as I possibly can. So the longer I brew this tea, the better off I'll be. And the more fucking broccoli I eat, the better off I'll be. So I literally was, at the time, when I was raw vegan, it was like a pound of spinach a day. Because I thought I had a magnesium deficiency. I'm like, how the fuck am I going to get my daily magnesium intake? Right? And I don't remember who it was. It was Jason Blaha, or if it was it Bite-Sized Vegan or Unconventional Vegan? Or I think it was Bite-Sized Vegan. Said that you have to eat like a whole pound of greens a day to get your magnesium. So I'm like, alright, fuck it. So I fucking used to spend $6 a day on raw spinach alone, and I was just like eating a whole fucking pound of raw spinach. And it was crazy. And I never once thought about all the leaves and things in my environment that, vegan advocates who believe in that evolution, the stupid evolution theory of veganism, they don't believe in the scavenger theory. That I never once thought that, why the fuck am I eating this hybridized ass spinach? I didn't even know that it was modified for to not kill me, basically. I was like, why don't we just go? I never thought I could just go and eat leaves and shit out of my backyard and whatnot. I never thought that. I never wondered why we don't just eat grass and shit. Cows can do that, but whatever. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. I was like, yeah, fuck it. So anyway, so started off my vegan journey eating a pound of spinach a day and just overdosing on fucking bananas and I don't know, whatever. Yeah, eating a shit ton of fruit, whatever. Eventually I realized the spinach just caused me a shit ton of bloating and stuff, so I cut the spinach out and I just went straight fruitarian. So I was fruitarian for about 2 months. I tried that mono meal bullshit that Freely the Banana Girl does or whatever, or advocated. And so I was doing the mono meal raw vegan shit, just eating like fucking 10 to 20 bananas in one sitting. And now in my current diet, I'll do that every now and then, but things are much different now. And anyway, so I was eating like 20 bananas in one serving at that time. And then like 20 peaches or some shit like that. And I would just eat fruit until I was satiated. And it took a lot because I was doing like martial arts at the time. Wasn't really good at it at the time. And my digestion kind of improved when I just stuck to fruit, which is interesting and part of my current health ideologies now. But I felt so weak and diabetic, and I had a lot of other health issues. My irritable bowel syndrome went away. My psoriasis went away, but my overall vitality and energy was bad. I honestly thought I was diabetic. It was really bad. I was always dizzy. It was terrible. I felt weak and lethargic, and I had like low-grade vertigo, and it was just getting worse and worse. And I had no motivation to exercise. I lost most of my motivation to exercise and lost most of my drive. Eventually, I did the raw till 4 bullshit where you eat like white rice towards the end and bananas and shit in the morning or whatever. And then eventually I tried the Michael Greger vegan diet thing, the scientific approach to veganism. I started watching Vegan Gains videos. I was watching Michael Greger. I tried the starch solution. I even had a video around that time about the starch solution, which is now a private video, just so you guys know, and no, I will never put it public, where I was talking about how great the fucking like starch solution was at the time. Just because I was on the vegan hype train and I couldn't see how bad it was affecting my health. So, I started the raw vegan thing, I think it was around July or August or something of 2014. And I kept being vegan until around, summertime. So it was summertime of 2014 to about summertime of 2015. And what made me change was the fact that when I introduced whole grains and beans and nuts and seeds back into my diet, and I was doing the Michael Greger diet and the starch solution diet, but I started off with the starch solution, and I was just shitting my guts out. It was terrible. I would see beans in my stool. I would see fucking rice, like brown rice in my stool, black rice in my stool. It was terrible. Potato skins, tomato skins, chia seeds in my stool. I started introducing like algae and I was taking B12 and all this stuff that Michael Greger said to take, or suggested that it might be beneficial. And I was doing the seaweed and everything, and I felt like fucked up. Like, so Chinese tonic herbs was helping me stay calm and whatnot, but I had no fucking energy to exercise. At first, my sex drive was pretty good because I had a good sex life, I guess, at the time, and this was pretty good. It was a daily sex life thing that was pretty good. And basically, the girl had way more of a sex drive than I did, so that kept me pretty potent at first. But I do remember eventually, and it might be because I was like super annoyed with her. I was pretty annoyed with her past a certain point, so that might be part of it. But I did lose my fucking sex drive after a while. And I think that is, honestly, if I'm going to be honest and unbiased, like that was probably largely just because the girl was like, it was probably more so just annoyed with the girl, but it could have been veganism. I remember apparently the more fruit I ate, the sweeter my semen tasted, just a side note. So that was an interesting thing. And the more salt I ate, the saltier my semen tasted. So anyway, any fucking way. The main thing is that I was just shitting my fucking guts out, just shitting all this bullshit out, and it was terrible. Like, all the symptoms that I had before I went vegan suddenly got substantially worse. I had horrible psoriasis, I was shitting my guts out, my breathing started to decline, and I had horrible insomnia at that time, like the absolute worst. So, eventually I made the connection. It took me months. I felt so dumb. I was like, dude, I've been eating all these whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds, and it just ends up in the fucking toilet. I literally just see it in the toilet. You know, and obviously it was chewed up and everything, and I tried chewing my food, chewing each mouthful for at least 60 seconds per mouthful. I even went up to two minutes at a time. I tried digestive enzyme supplements, which did kind of help me be able to eat a greater quantity of food, but I still saw food undigested in my stool. Like, it helped make me more hungry, but it wasn't really helping it didn't solve the problem. So I tried enzymes, I tried apple cider vinegar, I tried hydrochloric acid supplementation, I tried doing a coconut cleanse or whatever to kill off the bacteria. And I used to follow guys like John, what's his name? John Jimmy Rose or whatever the fuck his name is. And then there's another doctor, grape cleanse guy. What's his name? He's kind of fat. Dr. Morse. I followed a bunch of just delusional, crazy motherfucking people that have the stupidest health recommendations that are very dangerous. Which is why I debunk a lot of these vegan claims now, is because mostly a lot of the shit's dangerous, and also because a lot of them are just stupid and need to be debunked, but flat out wrong advice. Like people who think that we evolved to be herbivores and whatnot. It was a dumbass thing to say. Let's see. I tried everything, tried all these supplements, tried these cleanses, tried enzymes, digestive enzyme supplements, stomach acid supplements. I tried fucking everything to help me digest these fucking plant foods, and nothing I did could help me digest them. And I remember I asked Vegan Gains, what can I do? He told me chew my food more, blah, blah, blah. I tried chewing my food more. I tried the enzymes. I tried the supplements he recommended. Didn't work, and I asked him, what the fuck can I do? And he just didn't reply back, because he probably thought I was lying. Back then, I thought anybody who had problems with veganism was either lying or didn't do it right. They didn't cleanse long enough. And then a lot of people, when I asked for help on the vegan thing, they're like, you're not chewing your food properly. I'm like, I tried that. They're like, try cooking your food more. I fucking tried cooking my brown rice into congee, which is basically mush. I cooked the fuck out of my grains and my beans and whatnot. I tried congee, where all that shit's just complete mush, baby food looking. Didn't fucking help. None of that shit helped. I was like, what the fuck? And admittedly, that doesn't sound normal. I think maybe I just need to slowly work my way up, and I don't freaking know. But actually, I can digest kind of some of that food now. I'm going to get to that. So anyway, eventually I just said, fuck it. I'm wasting all my money on food I can't digest. What a dumb idea. What the fuck's the point? And back then, everybody who ate meat, I thought they had rotting flesh inside their intestine. I thought that they were unclean people, and that they were fools and ignorant, and they needed to be enlightened. All of the fucking typical shit you see with vegans, I fucking thought back then. Although I don't think I pressured people into being vegan and shit. And I do remember for Thanksgiving and Christmas of 2014, I remember my mom had made turkey and a whole Thanksgiving dinner, and my orthorexic ass, I had her buy me a pound of mixed greens. So I was eating power greens for fucking Thanksgiving, and that was it, because I was vegan. I was raw vegan at the time. So dumb. I felt horrible. That was the worst. I just remember feeling so fucking depleted during my raw vegan time. It was terrible. I didn't feel as depleted with the starch-based, Michael Greger-based vegan diet, but my digestive symptoms and psoriasis were the worst at that time. So eventually I added meat back in. I started eating little flink steaks. I remember the girl I was, having a fling with at the time, thought it was so disgusting, and she wouldn't buy the meat for me. She would buy me all the beans and crap I wanted, but she wouldn't buy that shit for me. So I ate that. I started eating the flink steak, and man, I remember eating that flink steak, and I removed all the grains, removed all the nuts and seeds, and all those foods I couldn't digest. Basically all the vegan staples. Started eating the red meat, and I felt amazing. I remember cooking up the flink steak with butter and garlic, and I remember for the first time in a long time, I started feeling, whoa, I actually feel like I'm getting nourishment. My hunger hormones immediately felt better. It wasn't I'm nourishing my body, because obviously it takes a couple hours for that meat to digest and you get the nutrients from it, but my stomach felt happy. I was like, whoa, my stomach likes this, you know, and I got the endorphin feeling of satisfaction. I'm like, oh, this is good. And then I ate a little bit of bananas because I knew I didn't have problems with bananas. And for a while I was just eating fruit and meat because I didn't have problems digesting that. And after about four days or so, I remember just feeling like a light switch turned on. I was like, oh, my energy's improved. My mental clarity's improved. I didn't feel that cortisol feeling because I started having bad, like, stress hormone responses as that starch-based diet was progressing. Like, I think it was like around February where I was in full swing with the starch-based diet, and then March, and then around April, after 2 months of this purely starch-based diet with fruit and shit like that too, was when I felt the worst. And then, and I just had that cortisol increase. And when I started eating some meat, and removed those grains and shit, that cortisol spiked stress feeling started to go down. I was like, whoa, I can actually think straight. And, like maybe 3 weeks after I started eating meat again and my mental clarity came back, I remember telling that girl, yeah, I don't think we're going to work out. We should probably, like, you know, just be friends or stop talking or something. So I guess my judgment improved a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, this girl's kind of annoying the shit out of me. Let's break up or whatever. Well, we weren't together at all, but she wanted to be together. I was like, nah, you're not. I can't allow myself to be with, you know, in a relationship with you. Well, anyway, so yeah, that was a good thing. My light switch turned on in my brain. I was like, yeah, fuck this. We're done. You know, I didn't want people to think we were together because we were not, and she wanted to be, and I don't know, I just felt like I was way, way too good. Because I'm a narcissist, I guess, right? But a narcissist wouldn't admit that he's a narcissist, so I guess I'm not a narcissist. Any fucking way. Yeah, so that shit kept going on. Kept eating meat, and I remember, man, I was so stubborn for a long freaking time. So after a couple weeks, I remember adding back in cooked cruciferous vegetables. I had in a little bit of cooked broccoli, a little bit of cauliflower, a little bit of carrots, and I remember having trouble digesting the carrots, but the broccoli and cauliflower was okay. After about a week, like, the broccoli was digesting better. And so that was my diet for a while. It was just like cruciferous vegetables, you know, carrots, like basically some cooked vegetables with bananas and fruit, and then meat. Eventually I added back in raw greens, and, you know, I didn't have as bad of digestive and psoriasis problems, but I remember I had trouble digesting it. So I just kept it in anyway because I thought it was healthy for me. I thought I needed it. And so this was like later in 2015. I remember I started trying to add back in grains again. I kept trying to add back in oatmeal, like stone ground, sprouted grain wheat bread and all this bullshit. Black rice, purple rice, red rice. I kept trying to add back in grains, you know, and this was like the theme of my health journey. From the time I realized I had a problem in 2015 up until like late 2018 when I went carnivore and my whole fucking life changed. I just kept trying to add back in these grain products and things. Eventually, around late 2018, I started experimenting with the carnivore diet, and my entire life started to change. It was around November of 2018, really, that I really started to play with carnivore, and it was the beginning of December 2018 that I just tried my 30-day strict carnivore experiment. And I don't remember exactly who it was that got me to go carnivore. I think I remember seeing some high-level athletes that were talking about being keto and eating mostly animal-based. I think it was somebody on Instagram named The Keto Athlete who was experimenting with it, and they looked amazing. and their health improved. But there was someone who was like reversing certain diseases that was feeling great on it. And eventually I did see Dr. Sean Baker, and at first I was like, whoa, that's crazy. There's no way someone can live without plant foods. Like, this goes against everything I've ever been told. And, you know, it really fucked with my identity, because I'm like, dude, I've been spending, you know, $6 a day on freaking raw greens, you know, eating a pound of greens every fucking day for years. And now you're trying to tell me that I wasted my money and I never got any benefit from it? That's kind of triggering, you know? And so pretty much everyone I tell these things to now, like, I can see it in their face, like, oh fuck, like, I don't want to like have to admit that I've been wasting my money on fucking protein pancakes and oatmeal and fucking raw greens and blah blah blah. You know, like, that's, and superfood shakes. Like, I've been buying raw green smoothies for fucking 20 years now, son, and I'm not gonna stop now. Super greens make me feel great, blah 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 blah. Polyphenols, antioxidants, it cleanses my body, blah blah blah, bullshit. And that was my mentality. I'm like, motherfucker, I've been spending thousands of dollars a year on fucking raw green superfood bullshit, and now you're trying to tell me I don't fucking need it? I'd be like Sean Baker and fucking break world records and glycolytic sports without carbs and shit. This whole time I've been slamming all these fucking carbs, you know? I was eating like 600 grams of carbs a day at one point to try to like boost my sports performance, and it didn't help. I noticed the protein helped when I would try upping my protein in my experience. I never noticed carbs improving it. I just got fat and felt worse, depending on how I did my carbs, of course. So eventually, so when I went carnivore and I saw all these people, and the main thing is that broke my skepticism. The main thing that got me to kind of open my eyes to it, it wasn't just hearing a guru say, oh yeah, like, you can just eat meat, bro, and you'll be alright. It was going on the World Carnivore Tribe and these like Facebook groups. Facebook groups I felt were more convincing than something like Reddit, because Reddit's like anonymous people. It's unknown. There's no life story that you can see on their profiles and shit. You don't know if they're legit or someone trying to sell you a carnivore book or something. Maybe it's a beef industry undercover trying to sell you steak. You never know. But when I was seeing on the World Carnivore Tribe, that was the main group, because it had like 50,000 followers at the time. Every single fucking day, it seemed like, there were like dozens of just random ass people, like ma and pa type people, just average people, grandmas, like specifically like older people and shit, talking about how they got off their diabetes meds. They were suffering with crippling autoimmune disease, and this has caught my eye because I dealt with psoriasis and autoimmune issues seemingly for so long. Like lupus, fibromyalgia, Crohn's disease, colitis, even thyroid issues, and even things like hemochromatosis, like supposed genetic iron overload. They're talking about how they got off their meds and their symptoms improved and all this shit. I'm like, what the fuck? And they're posting lab tests. They're posting lab tests. At the time, it was more common to see these experiences than now, because it was just beginning to blow people's minds at that time. Now it's just like everybody knows about it. So a lot of these really crazy testimonials are flooded out by random people who are asking if grapes are carnivore or not. So stupid now. Or they're like, oh, I'm cramping up and I feel dizzy. What should I do? And then no one says salt. Everybody tells them that you're detoxing. Like, it's become kind of like plagued by vegan dogma, but only in carnivore words. It kind of sucks. Like, oh, it's oxalate toxicity. No, you motherfucker, this person needs salt or they're going to end up in the ER. Please give them salt. Side note, I got banned from a carnivore group for recommending someone to get salt because they were suffering from symptoms of hyponatremia. And that was kind of fucked up. But anyway, and the guy who banned me was a moderator. He had like a Super Saiyan blue Vegeta as his avatar. So maybe one of y'all know who I'm talking about. I don't remember at all. But so yeah, all these people were getting healthier on the carnivore diet, and there was solid evidence, like case reports with lab tests, and then you can look at their profile. It's like, oh, it's a legit grandma who like has pictures of her and her grandson, and she's not advertising anything on her fucking page. It would make no fucking sense to be like, oh, that person, that's a placebo effect, or like, you know, there's like thousands of people who are saying the same fucking thing. It's definitely not a placebo effect. Are they all paid shills like fucking Frank Tufano claimed? I don't fucking think so. It just was like, whoa, this is legit shit. There's something about it. And for me, I started to examine further. Unlike some people like Lane Norton, who's like, oh, it's calorie restriction and placebo effect. That's why they're getting better. And they're removing junk food. That's why it's getting better. Mr. 5 Pop-Tarts a day diet, if it fits your macros. Flexible dieting. I started to examine further and watch lectures on some of these things, like Sally Norton and all these other experts. And I realized, you know why I had so many fucking problems on this diet? Because, first of all, it's very, very common that people have problems with some of these plant foods. Second of all, there's compounds in these foods that actually have legit side effects for certain people. Most pharmaceutical drugs are created from fucking plants, from like plant foods that you're eating. You know, and Rhonda Patrick and all these experts that are talking about curcumin, and these are things they used to supplement, by the way. It's like, whoa, wait a second. These foods have pharmacologically active constituents that these scientists are trying to like turn into supplements because they have shown, you know, significant alterations in human physiology. You know, whether it's for, you know, for pain relief or whatever, these foods are significantly affecting our physiology. Like, it's possible that maybe they're negatively affecting our physiology too. You know, or they have side effects like pharmaceutical drugs. You know, maybe natural doesn't mean better, right? There's a lot of toxic plant foods that can freaking kill you. So I started to connect the dots, and at first I was overly dogmatic, and I was like, yeah, freaking humans aren't meant to eat fucking plants, blah, blah, blah. You know, we're purely carnivores. I was really dogmatic at first. I'm like, yeah, humans don't need fucking vitamin C. Fuck that shit. I ain't a weakling, blah, blah, blah. You know, you can cure scurvy with raw meat, bruh. So eventually I started to open my eyes, and I started to kind of connect all of the lessons that I learned in my journey instead of just my current experience with carnivore. But the most empowering thing is realizing that you don't need to freaking force yourself to eat spinach and spend $6 a pound. Like, I was eating a pound of spinach a day for a long time. You need to spend $6 a day on spinach. And for those asking, yes, I tried removing spinach and it didn't help my symptoms. But, well, actually it kind of did, but the main thing that helped my symptoms was removing the whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds. So, there were people that were living for decades at a time, eating nothing but red meat. I read the stories of Owsley the Bear Stanley, who lived for 50 years eating nothing but the carnivore diet. Maybe he had some plants here and there. He insisted he didn't. But even if he did, it's like he wasn't trying to get his daily intake of plant foods like everyone thinks they have to do. Eventually I realized that pretty much all vitamin deficiencies were only discovered because people were eating extreme restricted diets, generally of refined foods, like white rice was the majority of their diet, or, and that created beriberi, or they didn't prepare corn properly, and that created vitamin B3 deficiency, pellagra. It's like, so I realized if I just ate red meat alone, it doesn't mean I'm going to die of, there's nothing in I realized there's nothing in fucking plant foods that I need to survive or feel great. And I realized that red meat is not killing people. Because all these people are reversing their diseases on red meat diets. I started to see the coronary artery calcium scans of people like Dr. Berg, Tristan Haggard from Primal Edge Health, Sean Baker. Pretty much all of these low-carb gurus got coronary artery calcium scans to measure the amount of plaque in their arteries, see if they had heart disease or not. And lo and behold, they had zero coronary artery calcium. And I saw some testing from some people who used to have like sky high coronary artery calcium, like 200 and 900 on their CAC score. And after like 6 months on keto or carnivore, that CAC scan went down to 0. So they reversed calcium in their arteries eating nothing but meat and freaking butter. So I went from eating half a pound of red meat a day to about 2 pounds of red meat minimum. And all of my, so I dropped 15 pounds in the first like 3 weeks. And at the same time, all of my Olympic lifts went up. I went from like clean and jerking 225 for like sets of 1 to clean and jerking 225 for like sets of 5 within 3 weeks while dropping 15 pounds. That is insane. And that's a highly glycolytic rep range to be increasing in. And maybe not as glycolytic as even higher reps. But mind you, I was also power snatching 185 for like sets of 2, maybe 3 reps at the first. And on a 0 carb freaking carnivore diet, dropping 15 pounds in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, my power snatch went from 185 for like sets of 2 to 3, or like 1 set of 2 to 3, to all of a sudden power snatching 185 for like a set of 9 or something. And that was freaking crazy. I was like, how the fuck is this happening? And my memory on the movements might be a little foggy, but I have videos on my Instagram from that time where I was like fucking amazed. The caption was like, holy shit, like my freaking PRs keep coming. This 0 carb carnivore diet's freaking crazy, blah, blah, blah. And I remember my energy went through the roof and insomnia went away. I was like, what the fuck? My mood drastically improved. Every aspect of my life drastically improved when I cut out all the plant foods and I was eating carnivore. And I'll add that I was still drinking coffee in the morning. I was having like 2 to 4 tablespoons of butter, 2 to 4 tablespoons of coconut oil, and then extra MCT oil on the side, brain octane oil, C8. And I was doing like whey protein in those shakes in the morning. That was my fucking breakfast. Whey protein blended with all the butter and MCT oil and everything. And then, and I was eating 4,500 calories a day, and I wasn't even doing cardio at the time, and I'll get to why here in a second. And so that was 1,500 calories more than I was before. And about 300 grams of protein at the end of the day was the amount I was eating. Shit tons of cheese, butter, no fucking carbs. And no cardio at the time. Because I was healing a hip injury, which miraculously disappeared on this diet. So I didn't do any dynamic exercises. It was just the power cleans and the clean and jerks and power snatches. And I think I was doing bench press too at the time. So all my lifts went up, dropped 15 pounds, felt amazing. My hip injury just disappeared. The doctor was telling me I was going to need to like stop exercising for 2 months to heal the hip injury. And it just disappeared after a week on carnivore. I'm like, what the fuck? Or it was more like 4 to 7 days, something like that. But it disappeared when I stopped eating plants. So I don't know. And so I just stuck with like the mostly red meat carnivore type of diet with cheese, butter, whatever, as long as it's mostly animal foods. I stuck with that carnivore diet from, the beginning of December, strictly, all the way until like later 2020. I started to experiment with a lot more with carbs and plant foods. Now I will admit, after the initial 30 days on carnivore, so the initial 30 days on carnivore from the beginning of December 2018 and then until like January, like after the 30 days were over, I tried like adding plants back in to see what the fuck would happen. I remember going to a sushi buffet or something with my girlfriend at the time, and I was trying a little bit of plant foods and fruit and stuff to see what would happen. And I do remember feeling like garbage. I started feeling depressed. And I remember having insomnia all of a sudden. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is this happening? So I thought that maybe I had diabetes or something. I wasn't sure. I know that eating substantially more protein probably had a lot to do with it. Some of those like energy boosting effects and recovering from exercise and progressing. But I think, because I wasn't sore at all after my workouts. All the pain symptoms went away. And I wasn't sure why. I think maybe the plant foods kind of like cause inflammation. Maybe carbs cause inflammation. But I tried just like a keto diet with plant foods at one point, and I still had a bit of pain when it came back into play. And insomnia came back. So, I don't know. I don't want to go too much farther on this. This is already pretty freaking long of a video. But I'll say that what I've kind of realized now is I seem to have intolerances to those staple foods of veganism, the whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds. And I realize you don't actually need those foods fucking at all, and so why eat them? And then conversely, so not only did I think I needed the plant foods, I thought I needed the broccoli, thought I needed the freaking whole grains, but I also thought red meat was bad for me. So those two things completely changed. Eventually I realized red meat doesn't kill people. Red meat seems to heal people, or people heal removing all these other foods and just eating red meat. And then I realized red meat is nutritionally complete. Red meat has all the nutrients you need to survive, and the ones that it doesn't have on paper you don't need unless you're eating refined carbs or something, like vitamin B1, required for carbohydrate metabolism. You don't really need vitamin C necessarily, although it might help people with things like cortisol and noradrenaline and things. Production of certain neurotransmitters, and maybe like reducing sickness and boosting immunity and whatnot. But you don't need it. You could literally survive on red meat alone for long periods of time. And I realize my body needs red meat way more than it needs these plant foods. So that was a huge paradigm shift. Plant foods don't seem to really benefit people freaking at all. Like, all of these things people think these plant foods do for them is kind of imaginary. It's just mechanistic data that looks good on paper, population studies that look good on paper, cohort studies that look good on paper, but intervention trials don't really show a substantial benefit. And there's some intervention trials that show removing plant foods from your diet actually improve antioxidant markers and decrease blood markers of oxidative stress and damage. Most people who do carnivore, like I see way better health benefits from people when they go carnivore than the ones I see in the vegan community. And I don't even need to say when you observe like people who've been vegan for a long time compared to people who've been carnivore for a long time. And admittedly, a lot of people don't do so well on carnivore either. But eventually, around, like, I don't even know a specific time. I think like November of 2020, something like that. Like later 2020, I started experimenting with different carbs and stuff. Because I started training like multiple times a day in jiu-jitsu and other sports and things. I just want to see if it would provide me a benefit, and I've kind of been back and forth with that. I think after like the 2 to 4 weeks keto adaptation period, the benefits of ketosis for performance way outweigh the benefits of carbs. But I think 20 grams of carbs from like honey or something, or dextrose powder after an intense workout, I think can be beneficial, maybe. But I think people who think they need to eat these crazy amounts of carbs every day, I think that they're barking up the wrong tree, because I just have never found the benefit. I don't think you need that much carbs. I think the sports performance idea of carbohydrates and its benefits are way overblown. So anyway, fast forward to 2021, I tried an experiment where I added back in whole grains. So I tried soaking them. So I tried an experiment where I would soak oatmeal, quick oats, like the easiest to digest, soak them overnight with a good amount of water, and some apple cider vinegar to help break down the phytic acid and other things to make it easy to digest. And then the next day I would like cook the fuck out of it and to see if I could digest it without problems. And I didn't have much problems at all, actually. After being on carnivore for so long and removing those foods, I think I might have healed a gut imbalance that I might have had, especially with all the coconut oil I was consuming. So I was able to kind of eat oatmeal, a little bit of oatmeal, as long as it was carefully soaked and prepared properly overnight. But I noticed, obviously, the more that I eat, the more flatulence I might get. But yeah, it didn't seem to like really hurt too badly at first. And then I remember trying brown rice, soaking it overnight, and I did see a little bit of brown rice in my stool, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like it was when I was vegan and shit. So I'd say my digestive health improved drastically by just removing these foods for a while. What I kind of feel like happened was I had small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and eating all of those highly fibrous foods was feeding bacteria in the wrong part of my intestine, which is why I was shitting them out undigested and experiencing psoriasis. It was an immune reaction from it. And by removing fibrous foods altogether, I was able to destroy all of those fiber-eating bacteria in the wrong part of my intestine and in my intestine in general. And then when I was adding them back in slowly, it was able to maybe those foods were able to ferment or rot in the proper part of my intestine, which was why I didn't experience any side effects at first. But I found that if I didn't soak or sprout the food, because I tried an experiment where I didn't, if I didn't soak or sprout the food, then I started to have flatulence and I was shit out undigested. So, but I just didn't like bothering, and I did start to notice, I started to feel kind of fucked up. I would notice felt like someone was sitting in my stomach for a while. And my energy levels were not as good. I think I started having insomnia, and my digestive symptoms looked like they might have been coming back. And I was wondering if maybe, I don't know. So maybe another experiment in the future, some other time would happen. But honestly, I'm like, man, I feel so fucking good just eating red meat and a little bit of fruit, which by the way, now I eat red meat, some bananas every now and then, and some honey, just targeting my carb intake around workouts. And, yeah, I'm like, man, I feel so fucking good just, keeping those foods out of my diet. Why the fuck am I going to add them back in? You know, any amount of money that I could spend on, grains or plant foods, I could easily just spend on meat. Something my body actually needs. Something that I actually see when I eat. The more red meat I eat, the better my energy is, the better my lifts are, the better performance I get, the better my mental health is. Why am I going to, I'm just going to spend my money on the shit that matters and remove anything in my diet and not spend money on anything that doesn't improve my health or whatever. And so that's what I've been doing, and that's why I don't fucking eat plant foods. Because all they've ever done is cause me problems. And I don't see convincing evidence that they're healthy. The Okinawans and blah, blah, blah. No, it's not convincing. I've made videos about this in the past. Meat rots in your intestine. No, it doesn't. Meat causes heart disease. Please show me an intervention trial or a cohort study that's not plagued by healthy user bias. Population studies done in Asia where they think red meat is healthy actually shows people who eat the most red meat tend to be healthier. But that's going to be changing soon because Western diet's kind of taken over. So more red meat eaters are now going to be in these studies that eat red meat in the form of hamburgers and sodas and shit. So, anyway, I see zero benefit in plant foods. I see nothing but harms in plant foods. I see dozens and dozens of people who improve their health on carnivore diets, and they stay that way in the long term. I don't see any harm in adding back in plant foods that you can tolerate. I don't think everybody needs to be fucking carnivore. I don't think you need all these carbs that these athletes think they need. Maybe a little bit of carbs might be alright. I don't think there's any magic in polyphenols. I don't think there's magic in isolated vitamins and minerals, or trying to get these vitamins and minerals in adequate amounts and blah, blah, blah. To an extent, obviously, that's a more deeper topic. I don't think you should be taking polyphenol supplements. I don't think you should be spending any money at all on plant foods just because you think it's going to extend your life or some shit. And I think you should aim to feel good on the diet you're eating, but make sure you get enough of the nutrients that matter. So, things that we know universally that humans need are going to be a certain amount of protein and amino acids per day, a certain amount of key vitamins and minerals like iron, B12, vitamin D status and things like that. You probably monitor your B vitamins and stuff, and maybe even strive to get a certain amount of vitamin C. But, polyphenols are something that have not been proven to be necessary or essential or even beneficial. Well, certain polyphenols have actually shown health benefits, I'll put it that way. But you're not going to die in 20 years, in 30 years, 40 years. How long is it going to take for you to die without polyphenols? Probably never. You're probably never going to see a polyphenol deficiency. So, anyway, that's as far as I'm going to go with this video. Leave your question and comments down below. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to y'all next time.